All right. Well, welcome everybody to today's podcast. I am surrounded by two men in the industry. One representing Edge Homes, we have Dave Hodges. And then to my left, we have Mr. Utah Real Estate, Micah.
Micah Rocaro, Mr. Utah Real Estate, and the actor
Oh,
selling
yeah.
homes.
And the actor selling homes. So we wanted we invited Dave over because yesterday we had our weekly sales meeting. And Dave had a chance, a few minutes to get up and talk to basically a reminder to all of the agents in our office about what Edge Homes as a builder is doing across the state of Utah. Now, there are certain areas that we're going to be talking about that Edge Homes is focusing on. But anyway, to summarize, we're talking about a buyer's market, right? We know that, the real estate roller coaster kind of goes all over the place. Sometimes, throwing it back to 2021, it was a very seller's market. People were going crazy, multiple offers. Now, what do you think? We are a buyer's market. What do you think?
Well, there's definitely I mean, the buyer has the advantage right now, the leverage right now. I mean, buyers can ask for more things from the seller than previously, whereas before the seller was like, "I'm not giving you anything, and you're going to pay over the price." Now it's kind of flipped. It's not as robust as it was because, of course, rates are still high, but that's where Edge has come up with some creative things for those rates. So if you're looking to buy new construction, before we get into that, though, maybe we get into the history of Edge Homes and how long they've been here and where they're building and the types of homes they're building. Maybe, Dave, you could give us a little history of Edge.
Yeah, for sure. So Edge has been around for quite a while, right? I think we started in, I might be wrong by a couple years, 2005, something like that. Before that, they were just under a different branding, different name. But we've been kind of just building a ton. We've been growing every year. We started off from, a real small builder to now we're one of the largest in Utah. We're not in every city, but we're in kind of the highly dense areas that people are wanting to be in. Southern Salt Lake County, Northern Utah County. We're now down into Southern Utah County, but we're trying to appease the masses. We're trying to build a product that reaches the majority of people. So we're trying to build condos, townhomes, single family home, depending on what stage of life you're in. That's what we're trying to build. And we're trying to provide a price point that people can get in. You guys were talking about it's a buyer's market, right? It's a buyer's market, but what have you guys seen? Like, how busy has it been recently?
For me, as an agent, like for example, right now, I have so I myself, Dave's going to talk about a little bit more about he mentioned a few areas, but we're going to go more in depth about which specific areas. I myself live in Lehigh. Now, if you're familiar with the area where the new or newish hospital is, the primary children's hospital in Lehigh, I live in that area. Specifically, another builder, but next to me is an Edge Homes community. Actually, before off camera, we were talking about how I took my kids for Easter egg hunt that was sponsored. And again, this is also something we're going to talk about in a little bit. Edge Homes. I love the engagement, the community engagement that you guys do with the community, including Easter. But anyway, get to the point, I have a listing right now, just a resale property, and we have not had any showings at all. Now, I know that for some people, it's very enticing to go with new construction. Like you just said a few moments ago, you guys are one of the largest builders at this point. And again, what I've seen is firsthand living in Lehigh is the amount of, like you said, condos, townhomes, and single families. A lot of people gravitate to that. I can think of one person right now that I presented my listing to, but they said that they prefer to wait because that community right there by Edge Homes is, I don't know when. I know you do have some listings right now that are on the market, but he prefers to wait. So he's bypassing what the property that I was hoping that he would buy.
Yeah.
But he's waiting for you guys because one, the proximity, he doesn't really want to go away from, because like you said, again, you guys are building in strategic areas. My area, not just because I live in it, but it's an area that is growing a lot. The proximity to the Silicon Slopes, the Utah's tech hub, but also everything from Thanksgiving Point to the museums, the golf courses, Utah Lake. If you're familiar with the Saratoga Springs area, because we're in an area where it's like one street over is Saratoga Springs and one is Lehigh, the hot springs. There's also hot springs. People, I just found out that people from all over the world come to Saratoga Springs just for those hot springs.
Have you been there?
Yeah,
Okay,
the last
yeah.
2 nights where I took my daughter and my wife, and it's awesome. So the proximity. So going back to your question, it is a buyer's market, and from what I've seen, it's very heavily a buyer's market because people are they know that balls in their court,
Yeah.
and something we're going to talk
We'll
about
get
with
into it,
you
yep.
is essentially what people, whether it's a resale property or a builder, are willing to do to get buyers into their homes.
Yeah.
Let me really quickly. So you say it's a buyer's market. It's a buyer's market, but I don't think the buyers understand it's a buyer's market.
Not all of them.
Yeah,
That's
because
for
I
sure.
mean everything is set up perfect for the buyers, as far as getting concessions, getting a lot of things you couldn't get when it was a seller's market. But buyers don't understand that quite yet. They're still waiting for the rates to fall. But once that happens, it's going to kind of flip and turn into a seller's market. So we try to educate our buyers. It's always a good time to buy real estate because
Yeah.
the one thing you can't control is the price. The price is going to continue to rise no matter what. They'll have your ups and downs, but it's going to continue to rise. The one thing that's not going to change. The thing that's going to change are the rates. The rates will change. So you lock in today's price. We keep telling everyone lock in today's price, and then refi to that rate later on.
Yeah.
If you wait for another year for rates to come down, you're going to pay another 30,000-40,000 for that home. So you're paying more for it. But again, we'll talk more about rates and what Edge is doing to kind of help the buyers get over that hurdle.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm glad that you pointed that out because, that is true. I think every single agent in the state of Utah, and I'm sure you guys that are representing builders are seeing that people are still waiting for those magical 2 to 3 to 4% interest rates. Yes, 2021 happened. We saw those rates. People that still have those, like my client right now, he's sitting on like 2.5%. Like, yeah, that did happen, but it was an anomaly.
Yeah.
And people are still waiting for that, right? And like you said, property prices will continue to go up, maybe at different speeds, but they will continue to go up. So if you're waiting for 2, 3, 4%, even 5%, okay, let's say that 5% does come. How much more are you going to be paying because the property value went up? So
And now you're competing also
Yes.
against other buyers.
you're competing. So when someone comes along and says, "Hey, get into this home," let's say a brand new property, and you can get into the 5%, that in itself is an anomaly. So, and that's when these guys come in.
Yeah. And so the reason why I asked that question was, from talking to a lot of different agents, I talked to a lot of us, just kind of seeing what the market is, what the temperature is, and kind of like what we're saying, there are people out there wanting to buy, but they're not pulling the trigger, right? And why aren't they pulling the trigger? Because for all intents and purposes, the economy is doing pretty good. Jobs are great. There's not a whole lot of reason holding someone back from buying a home. Okay, the main reason would be housing affordability, right? The house is just too expensive. Our mortgage payment is too high, and that really comes down to interest rates. Some of it is the price of the home, but the other thing is interest rates. But people aren't pulling the trigger. So what is it? Is there just no buyers out there, or are they just sitting on the sideline? So we kind of just found out from Edge standpoint over the last 2-3 weeks that there are a lot of buyers out there. They're just waiting for the right deal. And kind of like what you were saying, Micah, is that they either want that really low interest rate or they want something that's going to say, wow, now it's time to buy, because they don't know when is the right time, right? They don't know what they're waiting for. And so what we discovered is that the last 2 weeks, and we sold 150 homes in like the last 2-3 weeks.
That is insane.
And
That is insane.
and that just tells us that there's so many people out there wanting to buy that they have something in their life that is causing them to need a different home, right? Bigger home, smaller home, whatever it is, there's something causing that, and they need to do it. But there's like, well, when are we going to do it? When is that right time? And so that's where Edge has stepped in, and that's why where new construction is such a good option for clients, for buyers, is that we have the ability to offer those seller concessions. There's certain things, as you guys know, on the lending side, that a buyer just can't go and just get, right? It has to be a seller concession. A seller has to give something to the buyer in order to get like a lower rate or whatever it is.
Like a buy down or
A
something.
buy down or something. Yeah, correct. And so Edge has said, hey, let's jump on that. Let's lead the initiative. Let's help a whole bunch of people get into homes. And so something that I had never seen before. This is the biggest incentive that I've ever seen in the 10 years that I've worked at Edge. So we have pricing. Pricing's pretty standard across the board, right? From builder to builder. But what we did is we said, hey, let me back up. Last month, we were offering a 6% seller concession. Okay. So of the purchase price, Edge was giving 6% of the purchase price to the buyer as seller concession. So either a rate buy down, closing costs, purchase price reduction, something like that. And at the time, 6% was great. Other builders were doing 3%, some were doing 5%, 6% was great, right? Moved the needle a little bit, but not a whole lot. So then Edge said, well, hey, let's do this. Let's do 9% seller concession, which amazing, right?
6% I've never heard anyone doing, and then now you go 9%.
9%.
Right.
Okay, so now 9% of the purchase price giving to the buyer to do something with it towards their home, right? Within the realms of lending. On top of that, they said, well, why don't we just make it even that much better? Why don't we give them a better interest rate, which is really what everybody wants, is that fixed rate for 30 years. Right now, rates are hovering between 6.5 and 7,
Something like that.
depending on the day, depending on the week. Yeah. We're like, well, let's buy down the rate to 5.5, offer that as a promotion to the buyers, and then on top of that, still give them that 9% seller concession. So 9% was awesome just of itself, and then we're giving a 5.5 rate on top of that. So that tells you when we have 150 buyers come out of the woodworks to buy homes in 2 weeks, that tells you that's what they're looking for, right? That's the deal that you want to get.
So that 150 buyers was once you when you did the 9%, and then all of a sudden, yeah.
Now, quick question. Obviously, you mentioned the 9%, and obviously the bringing that interest rate. Are there any requirements? Like, let's say me, not as an agent, but as a buyer, I come and sit with you, and I'm like, hey, I heard that you guys are doing 9%. Are there certain requirements to get to that?
For sure. So Edge is not doing that across the board on all their homes. They're doing it on a certain number of homes that are finished. So a spec home is a home that Edge designed the home, picked out all the upgrades, the colors, everything, started the home, finished the home, and now we're selling it to the public. Okay? Move-in ready home. Yep. And so we have a select number of homes that we've designated that this incentive will go towards. Okay. And so that will depend on the community, the product type. It's changing every day. So the best way is to reach out to one of you guys, reach out to myself, and I can get you the exact list. But those incentives are tied to our preferred lender, which is First Colony Mortgage. So you do have to use them. Okay. It is a conventional rate. There is a timeline. We do have to close the end of August. The good thing with Edge is that we're always pivoting. Okay, so maybe somebody hears this or watches this podcast a little bit later. Maybe it's 2 weeks into August. Hey, I still want to do it, but I can't get funds quite ready. There's always a chance that Edge either continues it, changes the incentive a little bit, but their objective is to sell homes, right? And they're going to do what the market demands. The flip side, kind of what you were saying, Micah, is that rates, if they lower, changes the whole market, right? And everyone's been waiting for rates to change. We keep talking, hey, they're going to change this next Fed meeting, then they don't, and we're still in the same spot. And now maybe it's September, maybe the rates will come down. We never know, right? And so the best time is when the purchase price is at its lowest, because rates will come down. We know that based on history. It's just a matter of time, right? Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? But pricing, that one is what you have to lock in at the very lowest you can get. So if a builder is offering some amazing incentive that drops that purchase price, like that's what you want to jump on, because you can always change the rate. Like we've always talked about dating the rate, right? Marrying the purchase price, but dating the rate. Right. And so that's what Edge has allowed buyers to do. And this applies not only to buyers, but also to investors. And we can jump into that later. We can jump into that now. But as us as real estate professionals, like if we're not buying a home at least one a year, like we're doing something wrong. We're not on the right track. we've talked about cost segregation, accelerated depreciation over many years, right? Over the last 5 years, that was been a big hot topic, talking point. Hopefully everyone knows about that. If you don't, you got to research it. But now with Trump and this new bill that passed has reinstated that 100% accelerated depreciation. As a real estate professional or as an investor, like we've got to be buying a property every year to offset that income, to reduce our taxes. So not only are you getting that seller reduction in price, but now we can also capitalize on 100% accelerated depreciation. And having those combined, like now is a time to get in on that.
Here's adding on to this whole investor thing, because obviously a lot of people that are going to be watching this, whichever platform we share this to, are primary residents, right? As your first home, you're downgrading, you're upgrading, whatever it is, right? But then there is a percentage of people that think that based on what you just said, right? They want to add to that rental portfolio, and like you said, if you're not buying every year a property, you're doing something wrong. To point out, and not to go too into off topic, but Mike and I, we did one of our last, in fact, our first podcast together. We talked about how the real estate market in the state of Utah changed, starting especially 2002 after the Winter Olympics. Moving forward, it put us on the world map. People started investing. Now we know 2034, we're bringing the Winter Olympics back. So, as an investor, whether you're a seasoned investor or you want to get into that first property, this right here, what we're talking about, is a huge opportunity because properties are just going to continue going up, not just because it's real estate, period, but the Olympics are coming. Yeah. So whether you want to Airbnb or you want to have long-term rentals, how much better can you get than this, right?
Our lights went out.
That's for effect. Oh, because we're not moving or what?
And we're back.
Anyway, so as I was saying, adding to your rental portfolio, whether it's the first property or the 5th or the 100th, Utah is going and moving towards a direction that we saw in 2002, but accelerated. And I think what you just said is pivotal. Using that word again, pivot. If you're a Friends show fan, you know the whole about pivoting. It's very important. So I completely agree. Whether you're an agent, whether you're not an agent, and you want to capitalize in the growth that Utah's experiencing, I think Edge Homes is a very good opportunity to check that off.
And it's a proven market. Yeah. Utah is a proven market. Like you talked about the Olympics coming in 2002, it has been a steady growth ever since then, right? We haven't wavered. And whether that's an investor or whether that's owner occupied, like Utah is proven. You want to put your money here because it's proven to be stable. Whether stable, whether going up, like we don't change that much from a downward slope. And with the Olympics coming in again in 34, that's just one more thing to look forward to continue that upward trend. So I think that's why a lot of people like investing here.
I've spent most of my life here in Utah. I did go away for about 10 years and spend some time in Hawaii. But when I came back, this was 2013, I came back. In the 10 years I was gone, I was blown away by how much Utah had grown between St. George to Salt Lake. Actually, that's because we flew into Vegas and drove up from Vegas, and St. George was growing. When I got into Lehigh, I was just like, there was so much new stuff in Lehigh, and you're talking about the Silicon Slopes and all the companies that have come in, the tech companies, the health companies that have come in and set up shop here in Utah. And it's like you said, it's just blowing up right now.
I used to, and it's funny, even before I was in real estate, this is just me, call me weird, but anything south of like Point of the Mountain and Draper, I used to think like that is just like farm country for me.
Not anymore.
But now, funny because now I live in Lehigh, just 15 minutes from the Silicon Slopes. Again, you mentioned, software companies. You're talking about Utah's huge in not only the tech hub side of things, but also in medical and in health. Yeah. So, having the opportunity, the access to, properties in Lehigh and Saratoga, and I'm speaking because Lehigh and Saratoga are just down the street from me, but you also have Eagle Mountain, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We talked about some other areas, maybe It's still inside Utah County. You know, if it's further south is Mapleton.
Mapleton.
Am I right?
Yep.
That is an area. We were talking off camera. Mapleton is an area that's in the. If you're familiar with the geography, it's at the south end of Utah County. So you guess it's south. What is that? Southeast, and it's an area that gives you access to obviously the mountains, to bigger lots. How big? Do you have an idea how big the lots that you guys have in Mapleton?
In Mapleton?
Yeah.
They range, I think they start around 0.12 and go up to like 0.25.
Okay,
somewhere
so a
around
quarter
there.
of an acre.
It's a good size lot.
It's
Yeah.
a good sized lot. And again, just that area. My wife is a professional photographer, and I guess by marriage, every time she has a photo shoot, I am an assistant. So we did a photo shoot for his family in Spanish Fort Canyon, which is right there, just up the street from Mapleton. Beautiful, beautiful. And now I'm a huge fan of the fall time. Summer's a little bit too hot for me, but anyway, the proximity just in that community. And I haven't seen your product yet. I need to drive out there and do a video or a walkthrough. But that area in itself, it's an upcoming area. It's beautiful, obviously views of the lake, of Utah Lake. But then, just within Utah County, you said Mapleton, there's Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, and Eagle Mountain, which is one that I haven't seen in a while. And from what I hear, it's growing
It's grown a ton.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right? But then Salt Lake County, you live in Salt Lake County. So there's some areas in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I think southern Salt Lake County, you've got some stuff going up over
Yeah,
there.
so
as well.
Harriman, Riverton, West Harriman. We're just opening up this month or August. We're opening up Taylorsville.
Taylorsville.
We got West Jordan coming up in
All
like
right,
October.
so you're coming more north now.
Yep, we got
Yeah.
West Jordan coming up. We got West Valley coming up. So
Nice.
those are all coming this year.
Condos, townhomes, single family, all across the board.
I believe so. We don't have all the details yet. They're still working on some things. Taylorsville will be townhomes. But yeah, we're coming up here.
Where in
Which is
Taylorsville?
good.
I'm curious.
Great
know that?
question. I don't know that
don't
yet.
know that. No, the reason I ask is because I grew up in Taylorsville. So I went to Taylorsville High School and curious as to what area of Taylorsville.
I'm sorry.
It was good. It was back then. It
That's
was
right.
good.
I went to Kearns High School.
Oh, yeah? So were we rivals?
We were rivals, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But awesome. So when it comes to obviously we talk about locations, but let's say as a first time home buyer, obviously some people, I always tell people, and I'm sure you tell people as well as you, if for any reason the finances can't get you that dream home, right? There's anything in the $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 price range, but you can only afford a condo, get in it. Like do whatever you can just to get something, whether it's a condo, townhome, or single family, get it because of appreciation, obviously equity. And then, whether you keep it as a rental, whether you sell it and then you buy something, there's always a way around it. Like you said, marrying the interest rate, right? Property values are continuing to go up.
Marry the price.
So-
State interest rate.
As a first-time home buyer, I whether it's with us or they go straight to you, what is the process that Edge Homes has in place? Let's say I watch this video, I watch, a short or Instagram or whatever it is, and 9%, 5.4. And then I go in, I'm like, I need to buy now somehow. And let's say I go with a townhome. What is the process from like start to finish that you could like tell us or tell them?
Yeah. So I think Edge is the builder that makes it the simplest way to get into a home. Like the process is extremely easy, extremely fast. Okay. So say you're a buyer. I want to find a townhome. Reach out to you guys as your real estate agents. Come find me. The next process, we find you the right home. Okay, so we go walk through a few homes. We find the right one that has the colors that you like, the layout that you like, and we narrow in on this home. Okay, once we've narrowed in on this home, we write a contract. Takes about 10 minutes to do. Earnest money for a townhome is $2,500. That's it. So all the money up front is $2,500. For a condo, it's $2,000. For a single family, it's $3,000. These are for quick move-in homes.
Between 2,000 to 3,000, depending on the
Yep.
floor plan.
Yeah. So barrier to entry is extremely low. A lot of other people are 10%, 7%, whatever it is. There's a lot higher earnest money deposits or deposits out there to get into a home. Edge is one of the smallest out there. So you put your earnest money down 3 days after the contract is signed by both parties. Once a contract is signed, you have 7 days to get pre-qualified. So we'll connect you with our preferred lender to get pre-qualified. They make the process extremely simple. You just fill out an application. It usually takes them about a day to 2 days to get that pre-qualification back. Once we have your earnest money, we're set to go. You're closing in 30 days, 45 days, depending on what the product is, what the incentive is. But the next step is just closing on the home. We'll keep you updated as far as the process. If there's things are happening on the home, if it's like in construction, we'll keep you updated on what the next step is. But if it's already a finished home, that's it. You're closing in 30 days.
A move-in ready 30 home or
And,
30 days.
and the incentives you guys
Yeah.
are offering, the 9% and the 5.5%,
Mhm.
or the 9% concessions, 5.5% rate. That's for townhomes, condos,
Yeah,
single-family
yep,
homes,
for all three.
all three of them.
It just kind of depends on the community, depends on the product, how long it's been on the market. But
And then another question. So you get the 5.5% rate, the 9% concession. Can you use the 9% to buy that rate down more?
so my understanding is you can buy it down a little bit. So the 5.5 rate does come with about a 1% discount point. You're probably using part of that 9% seller concession to pay for that 5.5 rate. I believe you can buy it down to like 5.38, something like that.
So minimal. It's not too big of a change.
And I'm not a lender, so I can't speak exactly why you can't buy it down further. But because we've already bought it down from, let's say 6.5 down to 5.5, there's a limit on how much more you can buy it down. But to answer your question, you can buy it down a little bit, and you can use that 9%.
Let me ask you this then. So can you take that 9% concession and say, you know what, let's hold off on the 5%. I want to do a temp buy down with this 9% and do like a 3-1, because with 9%, you can do a 3-1 buy down, right?
Yeah.
So you can go from 6.5 down to 3.5
Mm-hmm.
your first year. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So that rate is it's for conventional loan, right? Not everybody can do a conventional loan. Some people have to do an FHA. Some people might have a different program they need to do. It does have to go to First Colony, like I mentioned. But if they're not doing a conventional loan, what we can do is we can take, instead of giving them a 5.5 interest rate, we can basically, like, quote unquote, convert that to 2 extra percentage off the purchase price. So now instead of 9%, you're getting 11% seller concession. And with that seller concession,
They're going to give us more.
yeah, then you can go ahead and buy your 3-1 buy down. The nice thing about that is we were talking about rates. You know, they're going to come down. It's a matter of when, right? Whether that's September, whether that's next year, but they're going to come down, right? With a 30-year fixed rate that's bought down for the whole amount of time, right? With what you were talking about, a 3-1 buy down, that money is put into escrow. And this might be a little bit more complicated. We can get into the details later, or if you have a client, reach out and we can answer more questions. But if you have a 3-1 buy down and rates drop next year, you might have thought, well, I just lost all that money for those 3 years, right? Well, that's not the case, because that money just sits in escrow. If you refinance after year 1, all the money that wasn't used to buy down the rate years 2 and 3, you get that money back.
Go straight onto your principal.
Straight, yeah, correct.
Good.
So that's another great option if you decide you take the 11% seller concession, buy down 3-1, do the 3-1 buy down, and then refinance next year. Then you haven't lost that money, and you still get that money back.
So there's different. I mean, you could take these concessions, these rates. You can go multiple different ways depending on what you guys are looking for. If you're looking for affordability, if you're looking for less money out of the pocket, the closing table, both. I mean, with that much concessions come back, you probably use it for both, right? So that's an amazing deal. I mean, yeah.
Essentially, it's a buyer's market. Balls in your court. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or like I mentioned a few moments ago, if you're downgrading, you're upgrading, whatever you're doing, this is a really good time. I don't want to be cheesy and be like, this is the right time to buy. No, it's a really good time to buy. Okay, forget the interest rate, right? But again, you can't ignore the 5.4, right? But if that is the thing that is holding you on the fence or preventing you of moving forward, look at the other possibilities, right? We got the 9% or up to 11%, like you just said. Yeah. The location, again, look at the big picture. Where is the community? You know, I know some people that want, you mentioned a little bit of the, if it's a move-in ready, 30-day close. There's some people that just want brand new. And what is the time frame when it comes to, whether it's a condo, a townhome, or a single family, if I want to build from scratch?
Yeah. So we have that option, which is a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. If you're building from scratch, you're looking at about 8 months. 7
any
to 8
of those
months.
3? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's awesome.
Yep, right around there.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Do you have any other questions? Anything that
real quick? I don't know if it's not a fact yet, but there's been predictions over the next 10 years, the median sale price in Utah in Salt Lake City is going to be close to $1 million.
We did hear that.
That's what
yesterday.
we're hearing.
Yeah.
Within the next 10 years, the median home price here in Salt Lake, Utah County is close to $1 million. So it's now the right time to buy.
It's hard to believe that, right?
It is hard to believe.
But
that.
if we went back to 2000, whatever that number is,
2019.
well, let's even go further than that.
Well, I bought in 2013, and I've doubled my equity in my home.
Okay, so 2013. Let's go 2008, and we thought about what the future price or future median price was, and now today, what is that? It's
In
550,
the fives.
Yeah.
In the fives.
500.
I
Like
still
we
remember-
wouldn't have thought that. We would have been like, "There's no way."
I remember that at least the house that I grew up in, Taylorsville. I remember when my parents bought it, it was $117,000. Then I lived in Louisiana for a couple of years, and I came back early 2007. They moved to West Jordan, and I remember the home they bought was $330,000. I was like, wow, because I was a lender at that point. I was 21, and I wanted to get into real estate, so I went into lending. And $330,000, that sounded absurd. I'm like, that is a lot of money for a house. But yeah, literally right now we're almost double that.
Yeah.
Because what 330? I know you guys have condos in that price range.
Condos.
Yeah, 330. So again, you got to take advantage of what is being presented to you right now. Get off that fence. Getting a hold of us so we can talk with Dave and get you in a condo, in a townhome, in a single family, whether it's in Salt Lake County, Utah County. I was gonna ask, what's the furthest north that you guys have a community?
At this very moment, it's Harriman.
Harriman.
As of middle of next month, Taylorsville. As of October, it'll be West Valley.
West Valley. So nothing in Davis County or Weber or anything like
Not
that
yet.
for now.
I'm crossing my fingers that we'll get up there.
What
But
about
not yet.
south? Is it Mapleton?
South is Mapleton.
Mapleton.
Hmm.
I mean, you guys have grown since the time I've been in real estate. You've grown quite a bit. Edge has grown quite a bit, spread out over. So you'll be up in Davis and Weber County.
I'm sure we will.
eventually, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. We go to find the right deals on homes, the right prices on land.
What about Tooele? I'm probably out there sometime too.
But one can hope.
Matter of time.
One can hope.
So I know
Matter of time.
Tooele's been growing pretty good too.
Yeah. There's some water issues out there and a number of different things, but it's all problems you just got to solve.
Summit County. Wasatch County.
We were up in Heber for a while. We were up in Heber for probably 5-6 years.
Just sold out.
Sold out, then they put a moratorium on building up there, and then we decided not to go back up there. I think it's just a matter of logistics when you're dealing with a whole separate market. There's an hour difference, driving from Heber down to the valley. So when you have contractors, when you have warranty issues, I mean, there's a number of just business functions or business decisions that come into that. Does it make sense for subcontractors to be driving an hour from one way to another when you're trying to keep costs down as much as possible?
Makes
And
sense.
so there's a number of different things in play, but I hope we get back up to Heber. Like that's such a beautiful place up
It is
there.
beautiful.
No matter where in Utah. Again, I'm sure you're going to watch this, whether you're a local, but also from out of state, because obviously this can go nationwide. It can go worldwide. I've had people, because of stuff I put up on YouTube, that were telling me that they follow me from Canada or from Tunisia, which is Northern Africa, stuff like that. Like real estate, in particularly in Utah. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we already talked about the appeal that Utah has. It's not just the tech sector and the health and the healthy unemployment, which is very even below the national average, but there's also the outdoors. Whether you're a skier or snowboarder or in the summertime. My wife is huge on boating. In fact, one of our colleagues here in the office is big into boating and water surfing or wake surfing, and we're actually going this next weekend or next 2 weekends. Anyway, a lot of activities in the state of Utah. A lot of potential when it comes to investing in real estate, whether it's a primary residence, owner occupied, or as an investor. I am so happy that we got Dave to come in with us because, again, Edge Homes is one of those builders that you're seeing everywhere. That orange pops up everywhere. So thank you so much, Dave, for being here. Is there
Thanks for
anything
having
else that you want to bring up
I think
before we end?
I mean, we wanted to hit on this major incentive Edge is doing, and Edge has been with our brokerage for a while now, one of our partners in crime.
True. Yes. So thank you again, Dave.
welcome.
I think this is something that yesterday in the sales meeting we were like, we gotta. Dave got up and talked about obviously these incentives. We're like, we gotta get a podcast going, and we gotta have Dave. So
Got to get the information out there, get some questions going, because this incentive is unheard of.
Yeah.
exactly. So just as a final thing, if you're local, hit us up, Micah, myself included. Then we can talk with Dave. If you're out of state, do reach out. Let us know where you're calling from, where you're messaging us from. Utah, everybody's flocking to Utah, not just the Olympics.
Yeah, even
so,
if you just want some information about Utah, not even real estate, reach out to us because we are more than happy to give you any kind of information on Utah, from the healthcare to from education to the tech sector to the great outdoors. One of the biggest selling points of Utah is the great outdoors, summer and winter time. But yeah, reach out to us for anything.
anyway, so the actor selling homes, we have Dave Hodges with Edge Homes, and we have Mr. Utah Real Estate right here. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.